Summertime is very rapidly approaching, and for the Football League calendar, that means that players are either finally going to get the summer break that they need after a grueling and intensive season and can prepare for the next year, or that they'll essentially be forced to represent their national teams in an international competition. Well, this year's summer that was meant to mostly be a restful summer for a lot of the players around the world has quickly become another one where they'll be subject to the latest FIFA social experiment, the new Club World Cup. So what the heck even is this new competition, am I right? Well, the new Club World Cup, which is technically the same as the old Club World Cup, is going to drastically change how this already boring tournament that no one cares about will happen from 2025 and onward. Before, the Club World Cup was a 6 to 8 team tournament where the winners of each continent's intercontinental competition would duke it out in a tournament to see who comes out on top. So essentially the winners of the UEFA Champions League, the CONCACAF Champions League, the Copa Libertadores, and so on, which on paper did have a lot of potential, especially because these were considered competitive matches. And granted, over the years we have gotten some fun matchups like Pep's Barcelona against Neymar Santos, Riquelme's Boca Juniors against a legendary AC Milan team, and even Real Madrid getting pushed to penalties by Japan's Kashima Antlers. But realistically, this tournament ends up being fodder where the European teams just end up dominating while not even putting out a full-strength team. Especially as footballing landscapes change and elite teams are able to hoard top talents while clubs in worst league and confederations suffer, the tournament just keeps getting easier and easier for the elite teams to just dominate. And if you don't believe me, well, since the inception of the tournament, 16 out of the 20 winners have come from Europe, 4 from CONMEBOL, which makes sense, and 0 from all others. And the last time a team outside of Europe even won was in 2012, which at this point was 13 years ago. On top of the winning monopoly that European teams have, this tournament also happens in the middle of the season and people generally just don't care. Like I said, this tournament ends up just becoming fodder and realistically an afterthought as well. So FIFA saw this and thought to themselves, how can we fix this tournament? How can we take this competition that people have zero interest in and convert it into an event that will take the world by storm? Well, what they cooked up was to mimic the World Cup style, the same style that they're getting rid of, and also expand the amount of teams that are able to participate in the tournament. Instead of just those 6 to 8 teams that I mentioned, the competition will now host 32 clubs in a summer tournament, 12 teams coming from Europe, 6 from South America, 5 from CONCACAF, 4 from Africa and Asia, and 1 from Oceania, with respective clubs being the recent winners of Champions League of that confederation or just other high-ranking clubs. So this competition, which still favors European clubs, is going to be a month long and includes group stages and knockout rounds just like the World Cup, with the first iteration being in the US this summer. They've even promised to throw a lot of money at the teams that are participating as they check off various boxes throughout the competition, and yet even with all these changes, with adding more teams from different confederations, people still don't care. From an outside perspective, you can tell that for FIFA, this is just going to be a disaster of a tournament. So we have to ask ourselves, why don't people care about this tournament and why is it shaping up to be a disaster? And real quick, boys, if you're enjoying the content and enjoying the channel, don't forget to leave a like, comment, subscribe. We're dropping weekly football videos, so make sure you hit that notification bell as well so you don't miss an upload. And if you're not new to the channel, boys, welcome back. Glad to have you on for another video. Make sure you guys let me know your thoughts on the upcoming Club World Cup in the comments down below. With that being said, boys, let's get into why this tournament is shaping up to be a disaster. So there's a chance that you think me calling this upcoming and brand new tournament a disaster is me being exaggerative, but you have to really think about it. FIFA's making these top clubs play even more games, all in an effort to generate hype around this competition. Additionally, FIFA themselves are throwing a ton of money into this thing in hopes that it's able to return the money and then some. This new tournament, which again is being held in the United States, is struggling very hard to sell tickets. You have clubs like Real Madrid, Chelsea, Inter Milan, Man City, PSG, Bayern, Benfica, Botafogo, Fluminense, Boca Juniors, River Plate, all coming to play competitive matches, and yet you have games where thousands of tickets have still not been sold. And I'm not even accounting for the people who have bought tickets just to resell them. Those tickets are sold, but those people, if they don't sell the tickets, are not going to the game. So guess what? That's an empty seat. Even a match like PSG against Atletico Madrid is struggling to sell tickets, and you cannot tell me that's not an indicator of how little interest people have in this freaking tournament. People in the United States may not come out for the US national team, but when it comes to pretty much any other club or any major sporting event, you can expect a good turnout. The Copa America match that I was at, Colombia against Brazil, had about 73,000 people in there, and yet that still isn't even happening for this competition. competition. And if matches like PSG against Atletico Madrid are struggling to sell tickets, other matches have zero chances. There's a bunch of other matches going on, such as Palmeiras versus Porto, but those matches are not going to generate interest. They're not going to sell tickets. And one of the big reasons why they're not going to sell tickets is maybe because they're charging $200 for one standard ticket. My brother, that is ludicrous. FIFA's decision to hold this tournament in the United States was also a boneheaded one, as realistically it prices out so many people from even potentially going to catch a good matchup. If you live in the area, you're a fan of football, you see a competition coming to a city near you, it's Porto against Palmeiras, two teams you've heard of and maybe you want to go check out, and then it's $200. My brother, some people can't even afford to buy eggs and you want people to pay for Porto against Palmeiras? I don't see that happening. It's getting to the point where FIFA is literally having to cut prices or offer special deals in order to push more sales. And what also shows how FIFA is very much so getting desperate is the fact that they're offering guaranteed opportunities at a 2026 World Cup ticket if someone buys 20 or more Club World Cup tickets. It's hard enough logistically for someone to catch, let's say, 5 matches this Club World Cup. That's a lot of planning. Flights, hotel room, money, transport, all that good stuff. And if FIFA expects us to buy 20 tickets, they have to be out of their mind, right? But hey, if you ask Infantino, there's no problem. And people are for sure going to show up to this very real and of course very competitive competition, because of course if the president of FIFA is coming out and saying these things, then surely there's no panic buttons being hit, right? So imagine you're FIFA, you're relaunching this new tournament, which is meant to be the start of a new future, and you're putting all your eggs in this basket, and then you see half empty stadiums and viewership only being half of what you expected it to be. That is quite literally the sign of a disaster. So a massive lack of fan and commercial interest is a very easy reason to point out as to why this tournament might become a disaster. But one reason that might go under the radar is that so many people can see through the facade and just recognize that FIFA's trying to create a new cash cow. There's already been so many changes with the competitions that we've been watching for the last 2 decades, and the Club World Cup is just the next in line. This season, UEFA changed the structure of the Champions League completely. The upcoming 2026 World Cup is going to ditch the 32-team system, the same system that the Club World Cup is about to use, as they're expanding the competition to accommodate 48 teams. And now we have the changes to the Club World Cup, which again doesn't really even improve the competition too much. Let's be real when we say that all the changes that have happened in football to the competitions that we watch are really just happening because the organizations want to make more money. In the Club World Cup case, FIFA's looking to create a new marquee competition that can try its best to rival other major club tournaments. You know earlier how I said they're copying the format of the World Cup? Well, that also applies to the frequency of this tournament, as it's only going to be happening every 4 years. They're literally trying to create an artificial sense of sparsity to try and make us think that this tournament is more special than it really is. Like, my brother, I can see what you're doing. These are glorified friendlies that you're trying to make stick, and I'm not going to fall for it. And I don't think anyone's going to go out of their way to watch the Club World Cup in comparison to how excited people are for the other club competitions that we watch. And at the same time, they're trying to build prestige in this tournament by having that big ass trophy and by throwing tons of money at these teams. It's to the point where they're trying to build so much hype for the competition that they're allowing teams to loan in players from clubs that are not participating. You see how ridiculous this is getting. Imagine Man City asking United for a Bruno loan for this damn competition. Do you get how crazy that sounds? Imagine Madrid being like, yo, Barca, can we loan in Lamine Yamal, please? What are you talking about? So you have two big factors already, right? People don't care, and we can tell that FIFA's trying to make this competition more important than it actually is. Two things that are going to definitely lead to this being a disaster. But what's really going to put the final nail in the coffin is what this is going to do to the players. This season alone, we're seeing how much guys at the top level are being affected by fatigue. Reason being that so many players were coming off representing their country in either Copa America or the Euro. Early in the season, you had players like Phil Foden, who last year was the player of the year, struggling so hard to find a rhythm at the beginning of the season, and this bled into the rest of the campaign. We've witnessed so many injuries this year, and players' bodies have been put through the ringer. And specifically, we've had a lot of ACL injuries. Militao, Carvajal, Ter Stegen, Mauro Icardi, Alaba, Rodri, Gabriel Jesus, Dragusin, Lisandro Martinez. These are just some of the players across Europe's top competitions that have been dealing with these ACL injuries. And even when it's not an ACL, a lot of guys are facing injuries that are seeing them miss a lot of time. Which takes us to the Club World Cup, where once again, players are going to be forced to play in more competitive matches at the behest of FIFA. And of course, like I mentioned earlier, most teams end up putting out a mix of players. That's a couple of starters, a couple of bench players, some reserves, some youth guys. They don't always play a full strength squad. But something tells me there's pressure coming down on these guys from FIFA themselves to push for these clubs to play their starters. So let's say, just for the sake of argument, majority of these guys, the European teams, they bring their full squads. Let's take a look at players like Mbappe and Dembele. These two not only played through pretty much the entire intra-Euro competition last summer as France made the semi-final. They've also been available for their clubs for the majority of the season and racked up a large amount of appearances with time still to go. Now add another summer competition where they will most likely be pressured to play, they will most likely make deep runs, and then they are expected to kick off another competitive season shortly after. These guys are just two prime examples of players that have played a ton this year, high level, also played last summer, that if there is pressure from FIFA will probably have to play again this summer. But there's so many other players that fit that bill as well, and there's a chance we're just going to continue to see these guys drop like flies when it comes to muscle injuries or ACL injuries. But that also kind of begs the question of the other side of the coin. Are these guys even going to play? Like I said, yes, they might be facing pressure from FIFA to play full strength squads, but at the end of the day, these clubs have the choice if they bring their best and their brightest. For example, we could see that PSG and Atletico Madrid match being a game full of bench and reserve players, which is going to make the appeal of this tournament even worse. So it's almost a lose-lose situation entirely. Either the good players play and risk their bodies for a glorified friendly competition and risk catastrophic injuries later on, or they opt not to and the appeal of the tournament decreases by a ton. Damned if you do, damned if you don't. This is shaping up to just be a total disaster. Because imagine if these guys don't play, fans already don't care, the media doesn't care, broadcasters don't care, and then you have the top clubs showing up with some U18 guy, no one's gonna care. And then even if it's a mix, the appeal is gonna be lower. It's just all around gonna be a disaster. There's gonna be empty stadiums, there's gonna be low viewership, people aren't gonna care until it's the final or the semi-final, or it's just gonna be the top European teams, maybe one or two underdog stories in there. Again, because if teams use lesser players, there's a chance for these deep runs, Cinderella stories, stuff like that. I just don't see this tournament working out, if I'm being honest. Good thing it's not coming back for another 4 years, because I don't think these guys should have to deal with this every single year. There's a chance they can it even after this one, and they just go back to the old system after this year. I don't see that happening because this tournament will probably end up making them more money than the old system. But you guys can let me know what you think in the comments down below. I don't see this being a great tournament. We'll see. You never know. This tournament could end up being amazing and knocking everyone's expectations out the park, but probably not likely.